Hi, welcome to BeFX Studios and our MatPlus tutorial series. Today we're gonna take a look on some basic but also powerful tools that we have at our disposal inside of MatPlus. We'll talk about intelligent masks. Okay, so first things first, just make sure as always that you already have your maps baked, because actually all of our intelligent masks are gonna make use of our baked textures to apply the effects that we're gonna check in this tutorial. And for this, I just went ahead and created a really simple skin base, nothing too fancy, just base settings and some skin pores, adding some height and a alpha for the skin pores. So that's it. I will just collapse this group, and the first thing that we want to do is actually go ahead and create a fill layer, and I'm gonna change some settings pretty quickly. Right, just something like this. So let's go ahead and create a black mask, and our intelligent mask will be located in this add effects menu. So let's click on here and click on add intelligent masks. Then we will have access to this button, and if we click here, this window will pop up showing us the library of our intelligent masks, right? So we will cover one by one, starting for the thickness. And we'll have access to some settings here, such as valence, and we will be able to play with the valence here, with the contrast as well. Also invert the effect, and play also with the low, mid, and high values. So just feel free to play with the settings, interact with them. So to see how it works, let's actually go into the mask view, and we'll be able to see the thickness mask working here. Okay, so basically what it's doing, it's actually detecting the thinner and thicker parts of the model. So the thinner parts are actually in white, and the thicker parts are darker. So the effect, it's gonna reflect, or it's gonna be more visible in the thinner parts of the model. So that's why I created this red layer, because it's gonna be really useful, for example, to work with some subsurface scattering by defining the thinner parts of the skin where the blood will be more visible. So this is actually one pretty practical and good example of how you can use this into a real life example. Also, as I said, you can invert the mask and actually mask out the thinner parts of the model, and then apply the effects on the thicker parts of the model. If that's what you want, that's the way you can do it. So let's move on into the next intelligent mask, which will be our light. Light is actually pretty simple. We will go into our mask view once more. So let's click on here, and basically this is like adding a light in our scene, right? And here in our settings, we will be actually able to play again with the balance, contrast, light glossiness. So start like playing with it. It will be literally like having a light source in this scene. So let's, for example, start playing with the horizontal rotation, something like this. This will be easier to visualize if we look at the model from the front view. So let's just change the horizontal rotation. So we will have this. And then if we change the vertical rotation, let's just do it from here, and we will have access to this. This will actually be pretty useful if you're texturing some stylized characters and stuff, and you will be able to add some really interesting effects. So let's, for example, start playing now with the valence, so we can get different effects. Also with the contrast. We can also change the light glossiness and just tweak all of the settings right away from here. You also can play with the light attenuation, so it's not as strong as it was. something like this, for example. And like this, we can actually add some really interesting color variations to our character. So let's say that, for example, I want to change the settings here, and I want to go for something like this, something like a light, or actually let's make it a little bit more obvious with a bluish tone, right? So we will be able to create this type of color variation. And actually, let's give this a different use. Let's go ahead and tweak this light, and for example, play with the vertical rotation, and let's just place it. This is easier to work with the mask view, right? So let's put it down here. And this way, we're actually gonna be able to create, for example, some type of shadow on our character. Okay, so just like this, we're creating a really interesting effect to our character that we will be able to play with, and these will be just baked in the textures. So pretty simple. You can create lights, you can create shadows. That's it for this intelligent mask. As you probably notice, the only thing that I need to change between one intelligent mask and the other is just by clicking here on assign intelligent mask, and if I choose a different one, then I will shift it. So for example, if I click on edge wear, I will have a different effect here applied. Okay, and even the name will change here, edgeware 1. So just keep in mind that if you apply a intelligent mask and then you decide that this is not the one that you want and you want to change it for a different one, you just need to click here on assign intelligent mask and choose the one you want. And this is also important. They won't be adding on top of each other. For these, you actually have to go ahead and create a new fill layer and then assign a new black mask and create a new intelligent mask. And here you will be able to assign a different effect on top. Okay, so this is how you will be building intelligent masks on top of each other. Okay, so for the edgeware, once more, if we come here on the mask, you will see that we have a bunch of different settings here to tweak and play with. You will be able to play with the global balance, with the contrast, pretty basic stuff, invert as well. And you will see this is actually using the edge information of our model to create some type of damage all over the surface, right? So you can also play with the texture, the contrast of the texture, the wear amount, the grunge, and start getting some really different effects. You can also change the resolution for the blur and enable blur on the edge mask, or change also the strength of the edge masking. So you will have a lot of versatility to work with these. Also, you will have these curvature mask settings where you will be able to change the way it behaves with the curvature masks. So let's play with the factor, with the strength, with the cavity as well, or the bevel. So you have a lot of options to tweak and personalize your mask from here. Also, you can always go ahead and on top of this, you can perfectly add a fill effect, for example, and add a texture. Let's say, for example, that I want to add this grunge mask 17 texture on top of it. And of course, if I change the mode from mix to multiply, I will be masking out the intelligent mask. So let's change to the material view, and we will see that right now, if I turn off the grunge mask, this will be applied like all over the model in a pretty consistent way. But if I turn on the grunge mask, you will see that it is applied with more variation. And then we can just go ahead and, as always, keep on tweaking the mask, the contrast, and all of this good stuff. Okay, so let's just get rid of this grunge mask so we can keep playing with the Nest intelligent mask. So now we will talk about the edge, and this is actually pretty similar somehow. So with this one, what we will see, let's just go into the mask view, is that all of our edges are being detected and masked. So we will be able to apply the effects, for example, in the edges, or also invert and just mask them out. Also, we will be able to tweak the balance as always, and the contrast, but also apply some blur to it. So let's turn it on. Let's change the resolution, for example, to 2K, and let's start playing with the intensity so we can have different effects. Let's just go into the material view once more, and let's say, for example, that I want to change these for a different type of effect. I can have this type of neon happening on the edges of the model, so pretty cool. I actually will be able to really quickly come here on the settings, add a channel and add emission. Click OK, go back to layer, and I will be able to actually create an emissive channel here and set the emission higher. So for example, if I want to create this type of neon effect and then render it, this will be the way to do it. Actually, I can change also the color of the emission, something like this. And this is, for example, one practical use that I could give to this edge intelligent mask. Okay, so for the next one, I'm actually gonna go ahead and create a different layer. Let's change, for example, the roughness and the metallic. So let's just go ahead and add a black mask, and let's create our intelligent mask, and this time we will use our dust. We can just go into the mask view and we'll be able to see what's actually happening with our mask. If we come down here to this section, we will have some settings to tweak, such as global, where we will be able to increase the level of dirt and the contrast, of course, and set settings for the texture balance, contrast, or the dust range. Okay, so we can cover more or less of the model. As you can see, this effect will be actually applied like on the top of the model, because this is the natural way that the dust behaves in real life. So the upper parts of the model will be covered in dust, and then the parts that are not as exposed to the dust will be masked out. Okay, I will leave it something like this. And then for the next intelligent mask, I'm just gonna go ahead and create a new layer. So let's add our black mask and let's create our intelligent mask. This time we will use our dirt, and the dirt, it's pretty different than the dust. As we said, the dust is applied from the top of the model, but the dirt will actually accumulate more on the crevices of the model. So let's apply it, and you will see how now we will have some dirt on our model. And if we come into our mask view, we'll be able to see how it is applying the mask and using the crevices and the edges to locate our dirt on the model. So let's start playing with the settings. The next intelligent mask that we're gonna check is the curvature. And these once more, it's actually pretty interesting. It's using the curvature information of our baked textures as well with the edge information. And this one is actually pretty interesting because it will allow us to work with two main different modes, the processed and unprocessed modes. So we will have this button here and we will be able to shift between the regular curvature map and the processed one, which is using a lot more of the edge information and stuff like that. So we will have access to some different type of effects by using it. And the last intelligent mask that we're going to cover is actually our ambient occlusion. So let's create a fill layer and let's play with the settings a little bit. So for this one, I want a darker layer. Also, I wanted to override the metal and roughness values, and I want it to be pretty rough. We can always, again, just go back and tweak these values later. I'm going to call it just ambient occlusion. And let's apply a black mask and of course our add intelligent mask, and let's choose our ambient occlusion. Boom. Like this, you will have the ambient occlusion applied to it. If I turn it off and on, you will be able to see what's happening. And let's go ahead and check the mask view as always to see what's happening with our model and how it is reading it and applying the ambient occlusion. Again, this is a pretty simple one. We will have access to balance, contrast, invert, and the low, mid, and high tone values for it. We're having this harsh shadow down here because we actually have another model, and so this information has been baked on the ambient occlusion, of course, because it's making contact with a different surface here. So just if you don't have a different piece of the model or in the baking process you enable the only local, these won't be happening here. Just wanted to clarify why this harsh shadow is happening down here, but that's it. Pretty simple ambient occlusion. So this is something really powerful, pretty simple. I will just go ahead and tweak this model a little more and try to apply some different intelligent masks on it so we can have something a little more interesting in the final result. But this was it for this tutorial. So as I said, some pretty basic but powerful tools that probably a lot of you knew already, but it's always good for beginners to understand how they work and also to see some practical uses for each of them. And this is it. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial and help you to understand these powerful features that will give you a lot of possibilities in every project. As always, remember to leave us a comment, like, and subscribe to our channel to keep updated with all of our content, and see you in the next one.